Hello, this is Mr. B, the chess coach, and this is the Sicilian Kan part 2. In part 1 video, we went over the most common line played by white against the Sicilian, and which follows e4, c5, knight f3, e6, d4, pawn takes, knight takes, a6. And part one, we looked at knight c3, which, like I said, this is probably going to be played about 90% of the time. But I've seen also at grandmaster level play the c4 bishop d3 variation and the c4 variation, which are also very strong. And black has to play a little bit different. So let's take a look at these openings. So let's look at first at bishop to d3 before this knight comes to c3. So from here, knight f6, um, castle. It would be bad for white to before castling to push the knight away. Let me go back for a second. This would be bad to move the pawn over here because now the knight not being on c3, the queen could just come to a5, checking the king and then picking up the pawn on e5. So he's pretty much going to give the pawn away for free. So that's why we can move this knight to f6 first before the queen to c7. So castle, queen to c7, queen to e2. What this move does, not only gets the queen off the first rank here, but also tries to support the pawn to move to e5. And because of this, we want to move pawn to d6. And from here, you will see two ideas, either c4 or f4. So let's take a look at both. So c4 first. Uh, if white plays c4 after he has his queen on e2, then this is the only time that we are actually going to fianchetto our bishop on the left side. So we're going to play g6, knight to c3, uh, bishop to g7, rook to d1, castle, knight to d3. What the white is trying to do is open up this file and try to make use of it. Maybe he's going to back up the bishop to c2 and double up on that open file. Maybe another idea could be bishop coming to uh, e3 here and attack the queen side. And there are quite a few ideas for white. Uh, but best response for black right here will be knight to c6. Uh, it attacks these black squares, or green in my case, over here. And you can see also this bishop also kind of controls those black squares, and it just gives extra support to those squares as well. Here, let's say maybe like h3, preparing for a kingside attack, or maybe just uh, trying to control the g4 square so it won't be used by black in a pen for this knight. And from here, black will play knight to d7. Um, Again, opens up the diagonal for black. Also, the knight on d7 has so two really good squares. He has the e5 square or the c5 square, which attacks the bishop. Again, it attacks more in the center, and it's a very strong position that the black has. Right here, this is equality, so both players could continue their game and reach a really good result. It all depends who is pushing their agenda. Um, okay, so let's go over the other line. We've seen the C4 line right now. Um, The other line that we will see with our queen to e2 is the f4 line. In this case, again, we have g6. Again, whenever the queen comes to e2 and you have this formation, we're gonna fianchetto on the left side. Now, from here, there are two ideas. Either f5, trying to open up the king side right away and start an attack right away, or c4, just some extra development and getting more space in the center. So let's look at f5. So let's look at the f5. Um, right here, if f5, then we're just going to develop bishop to g7. Now white has two options. He could take on e6 or on g6. E6 is the best way to take for him. If he takes on g6, there's two ideas that black could do, and both of them are very good. He could even take with the f pawn on g6 and then use the same open file with his rook. Or even another idea is to take with the h pawn on the g6 and then use this open file with the rook for a kingside attack. So f takes e6, f takes e6, and then bishop to c4. You can see the bishop on d3 doesn't do too much. It's blocked by its own pawn, and even if this pawn moves away, then the bishop will just attack the g6 pawn, which is already defended by the h7 pawn. So it doesn't do much on that square, so it's trying to get more active to c4. From here, we're going to move our knight to c6, which looks like we're hanging a pawn, but actually we're not. This pawn on e6, it's attacked twice by the knight and by the bishop. We're only defending once. But the thing is, he cannot take that pawn because he's going to be hanging a piece. If he takes the pawn with the bishop, then our knight will take his knight, forking the queen and the bishop, and we're going to be up a piece. And if he takes the pawn with the knight, then bishop takes the knight, and after his bishop takes our bishop, then again same story. We're gonna bring our knight to d4, forking the queen and the bishop, and get a better game. Okay, so c3 from here for white. Knight takes knight, c takes d4, castle. Knight to c3, bishop to d7. Um, his bishop to f4, b5. And from here, we have a really great game for black. You could see what bishop has to retreat either to b3 or to d3. b3 probably would be his best square. After this, we could bring our rook on the c8 line and start an attack on the queen side. I mean, this is a equal position, but black has really, really great play. All right, so let's look at the other line. So we've looked at the f5 line, and now let's take at the c4 line. If he doesn't push the f5 pawn. So bishop to g7, knight to f3, castle, knight to c3, knight to c6, which is very similar to the line, to the c4 line, which we looked in the beginning. Bishop to d2, and then knight to d7. Okay, and the last line that we need to look at is before the queen, bishop coming to d3, uh, c4 right away. In that case, queen to c7, knight to c3, knight to f6. And then there are two ideas for white here, a3 or bishop to d3. So let's look at the first idea, a3. Then b6, bishop to e3, bishop to b7, f3, knight to c6, rook to c1, knight takes knight, queen takes knight, bishop to c5, queen has to retreat, Bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, and then queen to c5, which equality and a really good, a great game for black from here. Um, and the last line, instead of a3, bishop d3. So if bishop d3, he's trying to make room for castling, then bishop to c5, bishop to e3, protecting the knight, d6, castle, knight to c6, bishop to e2, castle, rook to c1, bishop to d7, and again, from here we've reached equality. Black has a really strong position, and it all depends to which player pushes their agenda first and gets a better game from here. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this opening. Have a great day.